Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us once again on What About Jesus with Gene and Grady. But today I have a special friend and guest with Finn. So Grady is out involved in getting things ready for tonight's devotional with the Lake Homa Congregation Youth Group. So we've been talking about how to fit Jesus in our everyday life, but when you really think about it, it's how do we fit into Jesus' everyday life. So we began this discussion, Grady and I, by looking at the Great Commission that Jesus gave the disciples and gives us. And we kind of broke it down to making disciples, baptizing, and then teaching them all that he has commanded. So I'm going to ask Finn to read that once again from Matthew 28, picking up in verse 16 and reading on through verse 20. So here we go.
All right, starting in 16. Now the 11 disciples went to Galilee, to the mountain to which Jesus had directed them. And when they saw him, they worshipped him, but some doubted. And Jesus came and said to them, All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Go therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all that I have commanded you. And behold, I am with you always to the end of the age.
Thank you, Finn. As we talk about how we fit our life into Jesus' everyday life and looking at his expectations of making disciples, because that's a command right there. Mm-hmm. So from your perspective, how would you look at, or how would you define, or how would you go about to make a disciple?
I think I would start with, it says, the first word in verse 19 says go. They're not all going to come to you. You have to go out and actually find them. And then once you find the people that want to, or even if they don't, like building that relationship with them is a good place to start. And the process of building and like forming that relationship with them.
Okay, yeah, that's the important key, is that relationship. Because I don't think you want to walk up to someone that needs to hear the gospel and say, hey, you need Jesus in your life. And if you don't change the way you live your life, you're going to go to hell.
Yeah, that probably wouldn't come off too good.
No, probably not. They'll probably brush you off and run you off and get mad and angry and all, so you'd lose your impact on them. So, okay, so we're making disciples and we're baptizing. Now think about this. We're baptizing disciples. We're not just baptizing an individual. We're baptizing someone who wants to be a follower of Jesus. So, through my years of working in the church and working with the church, sometimes I wonder if we just think the goal is to get them into the water, to get them baptized, and then off they go.
Yeah, I mean, it's really like the emotion and connection behind it, because if you're just like dunking someone in water, that's just like you're playing chicken in the pool. I mean,
yeah,
there's no meaning behind it. But whenever you think that, like, the reasoning behind it, that's what makes the, I guess, representation matter.
Okay, so making a disciple and then baptizing them, do you think they'd have an understanding of how to live their life at this point? Or how to fit their life into Jesus' everyday life?
I think that they have a little understanding, but it's not just, like, going to come naturally. You have to stick with them and stick with the, like, routine of checking up on them and teaching with them and really just staying in the Word with them and not leaving them stranded.
So being that disciple and being into Jesus' everyday life is going to require us to change the way we live, right?
Yeah, you'll have to put some more effort and thought into going out and sticking with the people and not just sticking to your own daily routine, but including them in your relationship with Jesus as well.
Okay, so what do you think Jesus meant when he says, okay, you make disciples, baptize them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, teaching them all that I've commanded you, and I'll be with you until the end of the age, or at all times for all eternity. What's that mean about teaching all that he has commanded? What's that involve?
Really just like the people that have educated you about the Bible, just taking that and teaching them the same beliefs that you have, and digging into the Word, because not all that like everybody says is true. You have to find out for yourself what is true, which means digging in the Bible.
Okay. So as long as I go to the scriptures, as long as I go to the Bible, okay, I'm going to try to keep the teacher out of me for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as I go to the Bible once a day or a few times a week, is that going to make a difference for me?
Not necessarily. I think there has to be intention behind it, because sometimes we get so caught up in the daily routine of like, yeah, I'm reading my Bible, but I'm getting nothing out of it. You have to have the want to, and the drive to really like stay focused and have a set time that really is just dedicated to Jesus.
Okay. So going to the Bible, reading what he has to say, and then I have to put things into practice, don't I?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the live it out portion of it is really like what shows, or it's a testament to like all that you've learned and all that Jesus is guiding you to do in his like, think of yourself as one of his disciples. The things that he's teaching them is the same things that we can live by and really guide us.
Okay. Can you imagine, okay, you brought up an interesting thing about his disciples. Okay, imagine you're Peter or James or John, one of the first three that he calls. Then he goes and calls Matthew, the tax collector. Can you imagine what's going through their mind as now they have a tax collector as part of their group?
Yeah, that would be a little bit crazy. Like, the tax collectors are not the people that you would want to be friends with. Those are like the outcasts. And so Jesus being like, hey, I need you too, not just the three that I'm really close with. Like, yeah. That'd be mind-blowing.
Yeah, and the other mind-blowing thing to me is Simon the Zealot. Okay, now, he has been trained in the Word, but if someone does not live according to that Word, in other words, he's going to defend it with an actual sword. That's what a zealot means, is to be zealous for the commandments of God and be willing to put people to death that did not obey the commandments of God. Yeah. Can you imagine how James and John and now Matthew and Peter and Andrew all felt when Simon the Zealot joins the group?
Yeah, oh man, like going from killing people for the Word to having to just show love and like devotion to those you're teaching it, instead of just being like, hey, you don't believe the same thing, like you're done, you got to work on changing them instead. That'd be crazy to have to interact with someone like that.
Yeah, and what Jesus taught them is mercy and grace. But I like how you said they had to learn to love one another. And that word love, when it comes to a relationship with Jesus, is not about feelings. It's about the person. And so when you're making disciples, you have to have that same love, don't you?
Love is an action step, I believe. I believe it's like not just a feeling you get, but something you show to people to really like confirm.
Okay. Yeah, so that's good. All right. So teach them how to love, because a disciple coming into Jesus' everyday life is not going to know how to do that right off the bat, are they?
No, it's not something that will always come natural to you, especially with those who are people like persecuting you. Like it says, pray for those who persecute you. Like, that's not always going to come natural to you to love the ones that are against you.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right, he taught them how to love one another, because that's what he says. If you love one another, then they will know you are my disciples. Okay. Then he taught them the other thing that I found interesting in his walk with the disciples and disciples with him is when he told, on several occasions, he says, let's go to the other side of the Sea of Galilee. And to that side, they're not dealing with Jews. They're dealing with Gentiles. So now he's teaching them how to interact with someone who doesn't look like, well, they probably have, that look similar to them, but they don't act like them. They don't talk like them. They don't dress like them. So how would a new disciple of today need to understand that?
You'd really just have to come in open-minded and realize that these people don't come from the same situation as you. So you might have to change how you act or talk in order to like really reach out to them and connect with them, because it might be different than those that you've grown up with.
Okay, all right. So teaching them how to love, how to interact, how to accept others. What else would Jesus' everyday life teach us?
To go out and talk to those who maybe are by themselves, those who are different. Jesus didn't talk to all the like popular, famous people. He went out and talked to those who were needing Jesus.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, the one with leprosy.
Mm-hmm.
In that day and time, no one could touch them because that would have been, that was against their law.
Yeah.
Okay? They were to be outcast. But he comes up and says, Jesus, heal me. And the first thing Jesus does is touch him.
Mm-hmm.
So it's okay to touch in a way that helps them know that they belong, right?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So Jesus' everyday life teaches us how to love, how to interact, how to accept one another, how to make others feel like they belong. And I think that's the biggest key. Do you find that to be a challenge in your world of high school?
Yeah, 100%. People aren't going to come back to the church or like the group that you're in if they don't feel accepted, because they feel like they have no belonging there. You have to make them want to come back. So if they come for the first time and you're just like leaving them alone, then it's not going to like persuade them to come back and want to learn more about why you believe what you believe.
Very good. All right. Well, listeners, this is the episode that we wanted to share with you about the importance of fitting our lives into Jesus' everyday life. So, Finn, thank you so much for joining me.
Anytime, Gene.
And Grady will be so jealous that we'll probably have to get his spin on this as well. So, I want to wish everyone a good day and hope you'll join us again as we talk about what about Jesus, because there's a whole lot more to him and how we are to live our lives as he lived. So, I'm going to say goodbye. Have a great evening. And Finn, once again, thank you for joining us. And
it was a pleasure. Thank you, guys. Thank you.